apologize, folks, because we were intended to run through this next week. I missed that. I had a lecture I wanted to run through with you. So I'm just going to do a video recording and you're welcome to run through it on your own time. It's in regards to the usability testing. Obviously, that applies to our final assignment. So usability testing is a set of methods for evaluating a product or service by testing with representative users and iterating based on direct feedback. Since no one can design the perfect product from the get-go, it's a good way to expose flaws, gain new insights, and it's used for testing prototypes, websites, etc. We all know that that is very helpful, and I'm hopeful that you folks do know at this stage of the game. It's okay to find mistakes. If you don't find mistakes, it's probably because you haven't done enough testing. What we know, when you create a prototype of your web product based on research data, you have expectations of what the user will do with the product. In some cases, the user is delighted with the experience of using that web product. In others, they're not, which is usually what happens, sadly. Whether they're delighted or disappointed, the user's feedback on your product can help with fixing any issues that may arise from a usability test. So usability testing involves creating a prototype of your product and allowing people to use that prototype and record their experience at any point in the test. So use emotions through their words, facial expressions, gestures, so we can identify how they're feeling. So there goes thinking about all the things we've covered this semester, talking about their body language, their facial language, you know, how we can have empathy for them when fixing something if they're getting very frustrated, etc. Conducting a usability test in person versus online. In person, in conducting usability test in person, you can see body language and facial expressions that you might not see when you just pass on a link. This allows you to address these nuances and gain a deeper understanding of the situation. An issue with in-person testing is that sometimes more difficult for them to be obviously geographically where you are, or maybe a big virus called COVID. In-person testing method, so concurrent when you think aloud. So this method of testing asks the participants to speak about their thoughts and reactions while they're actually performing that task. And then retrospective think aloud. This method of testing asks the users to perform their test and then give the tester their thoughts and opinions after. Advantages and disadvantages to both. I imagine you can think that when we have them out loud, they don't forget about those issues versus at the end, they might forget. They might think, oh no, everything was fine, but perhaps maybe at that moment there was. Then perhaps the disadvantage to that is that, you know, we're throwing off their game constantly because, you know, that you're interrupting, you know, did you have an issue there, etc. So when we're doing it online and conducting usability tests remotely, you can easily reach more people that perhaps might not be super accessible. There's less of a commitment from the participant as they could be anywhere to test your product. An issue is you miss out on those physical cues that are important when we're assessing. And then when we're doing them online, remote moderated, so this method of testing asks users to work through the test and speak out loud, so online, so through a Zoom, a FaceTime. And then remote, essentially, as you can guess, you pass them a link and then they come back with their feedback. So our steps to doing that. So then obviously we have our prototype of your product. It can be simple wireframes or high fidelity comp. In our stage for this project, we are working from the wireframes. It's great to do this now because we outline any issues now before we get too far into the beautifying process. So today, ideal to create your prototype using popular tools like Envision or in our instance, XD. You may want to test sections of the product or the whole thing. Either way, make sure the prototype is complete enough for a user to be able to navigate easily. Or for instance, when we're, this is also where you would give this to a client. If you're doing big giant websites, you wouldn't proceed with doing the actual UI of things if the client hasn't tested that wireframe because they might not like the way that Start Now button is or placed. They might want their navigation done a different way. So get to outline that in the wireframe phase of things before going too far. You then obviously have a plan, what you need to test, how you're going to measure the results, have those specific tasks outlined, also allow the user to navigate freely through your prototype as well. They can uncover issues that perhaps you might not have thought about. So then finding participants, I know it's been quite difficult. I think your peers might be your best answer for participants. Find participants that are similar to the persona that will use the product. So if we are doing an ice cream app, perhaps maybe that's actually quite a broad audience. So obviously thinking maybe you want someone younger, maybe someone older, etc. And then remote participants are typically easier, obviously. Then we conduct a test, get demographic information from each of the participants, share the prototype, moderate that task, make sure not to encourage solutions. So don't be giving them cues as to, oh, you would go and you would hit the navigation to get there, or, oh, you hit that back button that maybe is quite hidden. The whole point of this is that you're silent and they're going to run through it. When someone's running through their app, they don't have the web developer over their shoulder all the time. And then obviously we document everything. Iterate, repeat. So we analyze our results, find common issues across our people, then we fix those issues in our prototype, and then go through that test again. So as a designer, we can become passionate about our creations. Usability testing can be a humbling experience. UX design is iterative by nature, and usability testing is a great example of that.